What is up, wrestling fans? It's that time of the week for these guys from NI Wrestling to talk all things pro grappling and call it right down the middle. That's right, it's time for this week's edition of NI Wrestling Presents Wrestling Night Live. And of course, we are live across all the great platforms here on Nerd Initiative, especially YouTube, but also Kick, Twitch, X, and Facebook. That's just for Nick there. Of course, I am your host. My name is Rich. I am the head of NI Wrestling. I'm also the host here. Also a reviewer of comics and all sorts of other stuff. Usually the guy is sitting next to me when we're in the other studio. That would be Ken M. But the editor-in-chief is editor-in-chiefing right now, so he's not able to be with us. However, you're in good hands because I didn't come alone. Sitting in the other chair is a man who collects and hunts Pokemon till he catches them all. He is also, very importantly, a pro grappling connoisseur. You would say he's all about those graps, as the kids like to say. I hate that term, by the way. However, tonight, after a blockbuster debut, he is Netflix Nick, and he is still brought to you by Fox for some reason.
No, I don't know why I'm brought to you by Fox, but 2025, Nerd Initiative, the Wrestling Night Live team, we're working to get on Netflix. All right, I got something.
We're working on it. We're also working on a separate deal with a certain other place. We'll leave that alone right now. Anyways, we're having a lot of fun here. We're still gonna have a lot of fun. We have a lot of pro wrestling to talk about because, hey, if you didn't know, 2 gigantic shows went down this past weekend. We will be recapping both Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. On top of that, we have a lot to talk about with that big, huge debut of WWE on Netflix. What worked, what didn't work, the good, the bad, the ugly, if you will. And then, of course, we have a huge announcement that's coming up regarding our yearly awards, because those are right around the butt. So we're going to be jumping in there. We're going to be talking about all those great and wonderful things. And Tom says no more new guy Nick. He's still new guy Nick. Mm-hmm. We just give him, he's also Mr. No Gimmicks Needed. So what we do is we give him a new gimmick every week. They're not needed, but he has them. But before we dive too far in, I just got to do a shout out because once again, got a lot of wrestling talks. I got to get the business out of the way. First of all, go to the home of pop culture positivity. That is nerdinitiative.com. Join the revolution. Check out the best in comics, wrestling, movies, TVs, and more. We are in 2025. We had a great 2024, growing leaps and bounds, and we are trying to double, if not quadruple that in the year 2025. Join the revolution. Get on board now at nerdinitiative.com. And of course, I would be remiss, and Ken M would definitely not be happy if I did not mention that if you are watching us on the Netflix or sorry, not the Netflix, Nick, you messed me up. If you are watching us on Kick, YouTube, or Kick, Facebook, X, or Twitch, make sure you're following us there. However, make sure you get over to the home of pop culture positivity on YouTube. That's right, Nerd Initiative's YouTube channel. Make sure you smash the subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications, and tap that thumbs up to let the boss, the GEO Michael, know that you want more pro wrestling and other videos as well, other content. And that is always great to have. So with that being said, hopefully I can get back into the game. Without Ken here, we go a little off the rails, Nick. We swivel in our chairs, we go off the rails, but we still talk a lot about good pro wrestling. So let's start off by talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 19, which went down this past weekend from the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, Japan. Of course, this was on January 4th in Japan. Also here on the East Coast, it was at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means both shows were actually on the 4th. We'll talk about that more in a second. However, we are going to do a card rundown giving you the winners, the losers, and then we're going to go ahead and recap what we thought about all of that. So let me just go down the card real quick. I got my handy dandy notes right here, Nick. Here we go. In the pre-show, we had the traditional New Japan Rambo, which is basically a Royal Rumble type match, different intervals of guys coming in. You can be eliminated from this match, however, by being thrown over the top rope, both feet touching the floor, or pinfall or submission. So there's 3 ways to be eliminated from the Rambo. The winner of this usually it goes down to the final 4, and then those final 4 have a 4-way match at New Year's Dash for the provisional King of Pro Wrestling title. However, this year they changed it up because there was a New Year's Dash, but since it wasn't the next day because of Dynasty, the winner won a shot at the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. How awesome is that? What's up, Kat? I'm glad you're in the chat. Can't wait to hear from some of your takes on some of this stuff as well. So with that being said, your winner, who outlasted a bunch of massively talented people, former champion, one of the most recognized figures in all of New Japan, Hiroki Goto. He has now stamped his ticket. He will get a shot in the future at the IWGP World's Heavyweight Champion, and we'll talk about who that had that champion. So next up was a 4-way Tokyo Terror ladder match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. Your champions going in, the Intergalactic Jet Setters, Kevin Knight and Kushida, defending against Catch 22, TJP, and Francisco Akira. The Ichiban Sweet Boys, though, of course, they're representatives of TMDK, Robbie Eagles, and Kosai Fujita. And last but not least, what our favorites for this match, by the way, the Bullet Club War Dogs, Hart Connors, and Jarilla Maloney. However, remember, I did pick the Ichiban Sweet Boys. And in 13 minutes and 4 seconds, your winners and your new IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, the Ichiban Sweet Boys. Fujita becomes the youngest champion in the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Think about that, Nick.
Kudos to you for calling it, man. You knew it. You were predicting it, and you made it happen.
Kat said she was so mad about the tag match. I'll tell you what, though, it was a great tag match. It was one heck of a tag team match. The ladder warfare coming in excellent. Next up, though, we had the IWGP Women's Championship on the line. Your champion, Mayu Iwatani, taking on Azium. This match got 8 minutes and 45 seconds, and at the end of the day, and still your IWGP Women's Champion, Mayu Iwatani. By the way, this match was phenomenal.
Yes.
It only got 8 minutes, but it was 8 unstopped minutes. They put on a pace that I have not seen in a long time, usually reserved for cruiserweights, and they just destroyed it. Love this match. Your thoughts, Nick?
No, I mean, this was probably not maybe my favorite match tonight, but it was definitely number 2. This match was a lot of fun. The pacing was just out of control. I mean, they only got 8 minutes, but like, I don't know how much longer they would have been able to keep up that pace. So I'm excited. If this is, it's right at the beginning of the year. If this is, I mean, this show in general, but this match overall, like, if this is a little tease of the year, oh boy, we're in for a lot of fun.
And Kat, you're right. It wasn't much of a surprise with Mayu winning. However, I thought that Azium had a great showing out there. A lot of really good stuff, and they're teasing towards the future. And of course, Mayu is called the idol because she's probably, in my guesstimation, the best women's wrestler on the planet. That's just my personal thing. And I know that there was a joke that after this match that Triple H was going to be getting on the phone and offering a contract. So that should tell you, even though that, once again, sometimes when you're stop clock watching matches, 8 minutes and 45 seconds, this felt like a lot more to me because it was that good. And they didn't need a ton of, they had some false finishes, but they didn't need a ton of them. They didn't need to go extra. They went out there, they smashed into you. They did some pretty awesome moves. They did some stuff that you're not used to seeing, especially if you're a fan of wrestling in the States. Kudos to both ladies in this match. Next up, we had the NJPW World Television Championship on the line in a 4-way match. Your champion representing the House of Torture, and one of the Musketeers, Ren Narita, defending against Jeff Cobb, former champion. The Rohai Oi, who came over from Noah after having a little excursion there. And then, of course, one of our personal favorites, El Fantasmo. Get it out there. This match got 10 minutes and 1 second. And at the end of the day, and your new NJPW World Television Champion, El Fantasmo. I thought he was the underdog going in. He comes out on top. Tremendous match here. Once again, lots of fun, lots of stuff going on. Nick, what was your thoughts about the television championship match?
This was very exciting, and to see Fantasmo get that win, which was just blew me away. Because we, like you said, underdog. We were all kind of like, yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be cool. Then we got it. I was like, what? Yes.
I remember when I picked Fantasmo, I was like, hey, he's probably not going to win. However, I love Fantasmo, and I've liked him for a long time. It's tremendous. Was I surprised? Yeah, Kat, I was, because Fantasmo is as great as he is. He had a really down 2024. Yeah. Like if you go back, he was injured. He wasn't really on the top of the tiers where he used to be. Ren Narita being a Musketeer on a huge night for the Musketeers, or the new Musketeers, I should say. You thought that I thought maybe that would set the pace and tone. And of course, they love Jeff Cobb, and Owa has been amazing since he's returned from excursion. So I'm saying all of them are talented. It was one of those matches where I don't think it mattered who won, because let's be honest, the fans won. I know it's cheesy to say, but I really think that Fantasmo taking the win was a little bit, I wouldn't say out of left field, because it's not like it's like totally unexpected.
Yeah, he's totally deserving. Yeah.
But with his 2024 and how that went, I was kind of like, where are we at? So it's cool to see him back in the saddle again in 2025. I like a couple nights later at New Year's Dash when he was mocking Jeff Cobb with the New Japan Television Championship, doing Fantasmo things. So that's what he brings to the table. Can't wait to see more of that. Next up, it was a lumberjack death match. I didn't get the death part of this, but lumberjack death match. And if Tanahashi was going to lose this match, he would have to retire. Your lumberjacks, by the way, for this match: Toriano, Oleg Bolton, Tiger Mask, Master Wato, Dick Togo, Sho, Yujiro Takahashi, and Kanemaru. So a little mixture of the House of Torture and basically the Ace's young boys. Of course, Hiroshi Tanahashi would defeat Evil 15 minutes and 7 seconds. I love the Ace, but watching him come to the ring is kind of painful these days. I know that he has now made it very public, even before this, that he was going to win this match, and he intends on retiring at Wrestle Kingdom next year. So Wrestle Kingdom 20 will be his retirement. In 2020, January 4, 2026, he has time-stamped it that will be his retirement. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with him getting another year of the Ace. This match, though, was pretty good, considering the Ace has kind of laid some weird ones out there. And I am happy, like you, Kat, that the Ace won. And like I said, now that we know that he's going to retire next year, kudos to him, putting the House of Torture behind him. Your thoughts, Nick?
Knowing what we know now, that this is going to be the last year, I mean, you can kind of, thinking back on it, you can kind of see it in the match. He really, showed up for the night. And like you said, he's walking down the ramp, and you're kind of like, well, I don't know, but he did show up in the ring, and to know this is his last year, he's probably going to work a little bit of a lighter schedule. He probably, there was a lot of talk about the New Japan roster. They were very light, not so much anymore. So he probably feels comfortable, like, yes, I can finally take the step back, but I want my swan song. And you get a whole year of that. I'm here for that. It's going to be fun. And the match, he showed up. The Great Ace showed up, and how many more of these he can do? Well, you got one calendar year to find out.
Well, at the end of the match, the House of Torture did House of Torture things, attacked Tanahashi, attacked all of Tanahashi's young boys, and all of a sudden we got music we haven't heard in a while in New Japan Pro Wrestling, as Shibata returned to New Japan Pro Wrestling after signing with AEW to clear out the House of Torture, who smartly got the hell out of there when Shibata hit the ring, and then said, hey, Ace, we've had a rivalry. We've had a friendship. We've had a rivalry. I love you. I respect you. How about we set up an impromptu exhibition tomorrow for Wrestle Dynasty, to which he said if the Ace wasn't tired. and the Ace said he's never tired. So those two we're going to meet on Dynasty. So we got a surprise Dynasty exhibition match because in Japan, they don't let Shibata wrestle full matches after his head injury. Kind of part of the reason why he went to AEW. Yeah. Just throwing that out there. And that's not judgment on AEW, because obviously he's had a hell of a run in AEW so far, in my opinion. All right, next up, winner takes all match. The Never Openweight Championship on the line. Also, the AEW International Championship on the line. First, your Never Openweight Champion, the Dragon Shingo Takagi. And he took on the AEW International Champion, Konosuke Takeshita. This match got 12 minutes and 46 seconds. And walking out with all the gold, and still AEW International Champion, and your new Never Openweight Champion, Konosuke Takeshita. And by the way, Takeshita's entrance here said it all. Signed a deal with DDT, has his deal with AEW, and now is reported that he is the first man to ever sign a 3-contract deal, because he is contracted now officially, not just because of the title win, but he officially signed a contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So he has got the Never Openweight title. He has got the AEW International title. He had a match the next night, which we'll talk about. This match, though, hard hitting like we thought it would be. Your thoughts about Shingo versus Takeshita?
Yeah, this was very hard hitting. And kudos to Takeshita for being like one of the hardest working men in wrestling right now, all over the place. But yeah, this was exactly what we thought it was. This was going to be a slobber knocker, as Jim Ross would say. And that's exactly what this was. Two guys just beat the snot out of each other.
This did not disappoint. I love the strikes in this match. I love the exchanges in this match. Takeshita, man, what can you say? When he calls himself the Alpha,
it's really
you can't argue.
Yeah,
you can't argue. This guy's the real deal. And Shingo Takagi is one of the legends of Japanese wrestling. Made his name in pro wrestling. Noah came and then went on to go to a Dragon Gate, the Japanese version. Also wrestled here in Dragon Gate USA, and now joined it. And then he finally came over to New Japan a few years back, about 5 or 6 years ago, actually, and teamed up with LIJ, and the sky's been the limit. I mean, former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion even. So Shingo, you can't take anything away from Shingo Takagi. Great match. I thought both these guys came out looking great. Next up, we got to give this match an asterisk. The IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship on the line. Your champion, Doki, taking on probably one of the if I would have to guess, the ace of the junior heavyweight division, El Desperado. This match only got 5 minutes and 20 seconds, though. Your winner and new IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, due to referee stoppage, El Desperado. Unfortunately, Doki, in a terrible-looking exchange, just broke his arm. There's no way to say it. I don't even think it broke. I think he shattered his arm. It was disgusting looking. The referee stepped right in, called for it was kind of weird because at first we saw the incident. If you saw the incident, because if you blinked, you missed it, thankfully, because it was very graphic when you seen how his arm went. Kind of reminded me of the Ray Phoenix incident a few years back.
A couple years ago, yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden the referee's kind of like waving. The Desperado's music starts. We get the announcement. Desperado does get on the microphone and basically says, I didn't want to win this way. Hope he gets better. We had a lot more planned for you, but here we are. Your thoughts on what we got to see a little bit? Once again, not really a fair match. And obviously, hopefully speedy recovery for Doki.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is a situation where, you want someone to, wish them the best of luck. Obviously, clearly, they're very heavily, severely injured and, but something they can come back from, so that's a good thing. And, the Wrestle Kingdom is a very interesting show, and they do such a great job with this. And I know they will with this as well, where it's a ton of beginnings and a bunch of ends. And here right now, it's like we have a huge opportunity here. This guy's going to be hurt for a while. He's going to be okay. He's going to come back, and he can get back to the mix when he's back. But we can do something new. You could go into a tournament. We can do some sort of anything. I'm sure they're looking as an opportunity. And Desperado, he'll be right there in the mix for it, and very well could end up with the belt.
Yeah, once again, he's in my opinion, he's the ace of the junior heavyweight division. They talk about him like he's Jushin Thunder Liger or the next coming of Liger, because he stepped up when he had to a couple years ago. And since then, he's been one of the top guys, and he sold out Kurokan Hall for an independent show he threw. So like, it's not like he's not very popular in the fans' eyes and also other wrestlers' eyes. But you know what? A hard spot coming right after it, because obviously that kind of took the sales out of what it was a great night, because obviously when somebody gets injured, always takes you aback. So it definitely was a hard spot, but boy, did these two gentlemen fill this spot. The IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship was on the line. Your champion going in, and the leader of the Bullet Club War Dogs, David Finlay, and he took on the Gene Blaster, another member of the Musketeers, Yota Tsuji. And this past year, we got to see tremendous growth from Yota Tsuji. We got to see him perform in some tournaments. We got to see him go to the finals of the G1 Climax. We got to see him, he was climbing up that list. He was making some moves and, just coming up short. That was the story. Was he going to just come up short when it made the most? Of course, this match got 19 minutes and 35 seconds. And at the end of the day, and your new IWGP Global Heavyweight Champion, Yota Tsuji, dude, coming off of what we had with a little downer with the injury. These guys picked it right back up. Mm-hmm. I love the story of this match. David Finlay taking it right to him. Yota Tsuji giving it back. Every time you thought Finlay had Tsuji finished out, he got that fighting spirit. He got the kick out. And when we got to the finish of this match, the release from the Japanese crowd of Yota Tsuji finally getting, not just being the dance partner, but finally becoming the main attraction in a way. This match it gave me all the emotions. I mean, I got the goosebumps just thinking about it. I love this match. It was my second favorite match of the night. Not going to throw it out, not taking any shade on it. I just thought this match was phenomenal. Your thoughts, Nick?
This was my match of the night. I absolutely love this, because this is exactly what wrestling strives to be. This was just cinema. This was amazing. Amazing storytelling, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Two amazing competitors with amazing stories going into this, and oh, this paid off. And coming off of, like you said, coming off of the previous match that got a little, unfortunate with the injury. You have to pivot a little bit. I'm sure some of this was done, wasn't planned out, because they probably had to add in a little bit of time, any number of things. So, wow. Absolutely wow. I highly recommend, if you didn't watch this, go find it, watch it. Absolutely phenomenal match.
Agreed. Next up was the in the world of New Japan, this is the semi-main, if you will. They make usually a big deal about the second spot to the end, and this was actually, I'm going to blend it out the bag, and maybe it's because I'm just a Naito mark, but this was my favorite match of the evening. Tetsuya Naito taking on basically his protege, his young boy in LIJ, Hamaru Takahashi. Also, remember, those two did win the tag league. So they were going to get a tag title shot. They were part of the tag title match the next night at Dynasty because of that. But basically, the build to this match was the ticking time bomb saying, hey, I respect you, Naito-san. I love you. You're my mentor, but I have to know if I have surpassed you. I want to be a heavyweight. You are one of the legends in this company. You are a guy that's respected. I mean, no disrespect. I just want to see where I lay next to that measuring stick. And Naito said, you want to step up? I understand. This match got 17 minutes and 4 seconds. At the end of the day, the teacher did not get defeated by the student. Tetsuya Naito coming out on top. But I love the story during this match, because it was that story. Takahashi really took it to Naito, gave Naito everything he had. It at a few different times looked like he had Naito. I mean, hell, he looked like he beat Naito with the Destino. And it was one of those moments where you're like, oh man, he's going to beat him with his own move. But the old wily vet knew how to rally back. When the pressure was on the most, he got the most out of it and comes out with the victory. And at the end of the match, we had the, mutual respect for the LIJ pose at the end. Obviously, this was a mutual respect match. It wasn't, hey, I hate you and I'm trying to overtake you. It was literally, can I measure up against you? And I think the answer was yes. Takahashi does measure up against Naito. Did he come up short? Yeah, but just barely. Your thoughts, Nick?
I think you summed it up perfectly. While this was a very complete match, this was still just a tease. We know we're going to get this again at some point. So round 2, I'm ready for it.
And that brings us to the main event of the evening of Wrestle Kingdom for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Your champion, representing TMDK, Zack Sabre Jr., taking on the man who earned the number one contender shot, Shota in real life, Yumino. Of course, he did wear the shooter pants all weekend. He rode out on the motorcycle. And let's be honest, Shota Yumino is super popular. This match got 43 minutes and 43 seconds, though. Long match. And at the end of the day, and still your IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Zack Sabre Jr. And I got to be critical here. I think it reminded me of last year in a way, where Sonata came in as the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. The crowd was not sold on him as the World Heavyweight Champion, and it hurt the match in a lot of ways with him and Naito. This year, I feel like the crowd wasn't necessarily sold on either of these guys being the main event, and really not on Shota, which was really weird because he's usually a fan favorite. I feel during the match, the crowd really rallied behind Zack Sabre Jr. Zack Sabre Jr., by the way, becomes the first Gaijin to win a main event match at Wrestle Kingdom. So that's a huge accomplishment. I really think that this crowd kind of abandoned Shota in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying that it was wrong for them to. It was just puzzling to me. And that did carry over the next day in Dynasty, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I don't think this match, I don't want to say this match was disappointing because I think they went out there and had a hell of a match. But I really think that the crowd really kind of took something away from this. Your thoughts?
Yeah, watching it, the first go around and what, I felt like maybe there was just some fatigue. The crowd was just, after the last couple of really good banger matches, maybe they were just, kind of just getting out of it. It's getting late, and that's possible. But Zack Sabre Jr., amazing competitor. His style at times can be a little, slow, because that ground and pound mat type stuff, But I think what we saw the next night. I think you're right. I think the crowd maybe has kind of. I don't want to say soured, that would be going too far, but yeah, they may not really be buying into this, which is interesting because Zack Sabre Jr. has had an amazing year and some amazing matches, but I don't know, maybe New Japan's going to look at this and say, well, maybe we need to do something different and freshen things up.
Well, I think that the crowd's behind the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. I think coming out of this match, the crowd was the pop for him winning, Zack Sabre Jr., that is, I think was very organic. As the match went on, they were solidly behind ZSJ, which is weird because, like I said, Shota's been such a fan favorite. And even wilder than that, Yota Tsuji had a huge pop earlier in the night, one of the other Musketeers. Not taking anything away from Shota because I think he's going to be I think he's already a great pro wrestler. I think he's going to be tremendous. Obviously, I think all three members of the Musketeers are they deserve the role. But I think a lot of it's been thrusted on them too quickly because we heard how many times on the commentary did we hear them compared to the last set of Musketeers? And by the way, for memory's sake, the last set of Musketeers was Shibata, Nakamura, and Tanahashi. The set before them was the original Musketeers, which was Chono, Muda, and they're legends of the business.
Yeah. We going into this, we predicted a really big night for the Musketeers and didn't really fully see that, didn't really fully develop. And I don't know.
I think Narita did fine in a loss. It was fine that he lost.
Yeah.
I think Narita did really well. Yota Tsuji obviously had the best performance out of all the Musketeers that night. And like I said, I don't want to take anything away from Shota, but I mean, I will give the kid credit for this though. Once he started getting that kind of heel heat a little bit, he kind of gave it back, including getting into it with his own father, of course, legendary Japanese Red Shoes. So that's Shota's dad.
Yeah.
And he kind of gave it into him. So I thought that was an interesting, happening. Once again, I'm not upset about it. I just think that the crowd kind of turned on him in his moment of need. It's kind of strange. Well, we've already alluded to it a few times. There was another show that went down that New Japan was a part of. And that, of course, was the very next day, Japanese time. If you were on the East Coast of the United States, it was the same day because on the East Coast, it was still January 4th at 11 p.m. Eastern. But over in Japan, it was January 5th. And it was NJPW, X AEW, X CMLL, X ROH, X Stardom. Wrestle Dynasty 2025 from the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, Japan. And first of all, because we're going to talk about the controversy later, we'll save it for the end. It was interesting that the New Japan wrestling team, commentary team, called this event.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a mixed setup. It was all New Japan. And it was a very New Japan-centric show, which I don't think we're expecting originally. So it was a kind of an interesting surprise. Let's open up. There was 2 pre-show matches. The first of the 2 pre-show matches was the finals of the International Women's Cup. Of course, the winner would receive a title shot in the promotion of her choosing. So any promotion. The match got 11 minutes and 13 seconds. Momo Watanabe won it from Stardom because of Tekula. Throwing that out there as she defeated Willow Nightingale, Persephone, and of course, the forever champ of ROH, Athena. By the way, that baseball shot that Tekula gave to Athena, oh boy. Mm-hmm. That made me really, really kind of go, oh boy. I thought she connected a little further than I thought, but Athena seems to be okay. Setting up another big match between them. What was your thoughts on the women's 4-way and your International Women's Cup winner?
Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway from it. I'm like, this is a little swinging for Barry Bonds fences there, it all seems like it's okay, so that's good. Yeah, fun match, fun pacing. Athena, forever champion in there, Willow, everyone else. Yeah, this was good. Good way to start.
That was a great match. Momo's a tremendous athlete as well, because Momo Watanabe has her eyes set on Iwatani. They had a great match earlier this year, and it looks like we're going to get that again. But you never know. She does get a shot at whichever belt, whether it's CMLL, ROH, AEW, or Stardom. You never know. You never know. Next up, though, on the pre-show was the ROH World Tag Team Championships on the line. Your champions, the Sons of Texas, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, taking on the House of Torture team of Sho and Kanemaru. This match got 9 minutes and 27 seconds, and at the end of the day, and still your Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, the Sons of Texas. Hey, this match did what it needed to do. Now, the legendary Dusty Rhodes' son returns to Japan. The Japanese love them, Dusty Rhodes. They love Dustin Rhodes. They love Cody Rhodes. I mean, this was, hey, listen, let's be honest. Let's call it. It was a tip of the cap. It was wonderful. Nothing wrong with the match, but it did what it needed to do on a pre-show. Your thoughts?
Yep. It did what it needed to do. Everyone got their, chance to wave at the crowd. A little bit of fun action. Dustin Rhodes can still go. This was fine.
So we had a bit of a surprise next up, which was the Lucha Gauntlet match. We didn't know any of the 8 competitors that were going to be in the match going into the match. They were going to be from between CMLL and New Japan Pro Wrestling. That was the open of the show, by the way, which is perfect opening. The match did get 16 minutes and 23 seconds at the end of the day, stealing a victory. Taiji Ishimori, the Bone Soldier, defeating Hachiro, Kosai Fujita, Sobrano Jr., Master Wado, Titan, El Desperado, that's right, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. And, of course, Mascara Dorado making his New Japan debut. Hey, if you're going to start a match off with a Lucha Gauntlet match, I'm in. I'm just saying, I'm in. Nick, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is... We've fallen into this pattern with a lot of wrestling shows where you do, like, your other main event as your opener. And while that works, this was a lot more fun, dive right into the action. Luchadors dive in everywhere. Different way to start a show, and it worked. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up was the Grappling Rules exhibition match. By the way, notice it said Grappling Rules. This match was Tanahashi and Shibata. It was a time limit draw. It got 5 minutes because it was an exhibition. And really all it was a chop fest spirit test. I'm not upset about this. I understand in New Japan, they try to keep Shibata protected. But listen, the way that the Ace's chest looked and Shibata's chest looked, oh boy.
Yeah,
Your thoughts?
Who were you protecting? Great. He
well,
didn't get
supposed to grapple, but...
right? Like, you didn't get bopped in the head, but geez, yeah, this was something. The chop fests, they're not always for me. This was one of the choppiest chop fests I've ever seen. Yeah,
I agree. Next up, winner takes all for the Strong NJPW Strong Women's Championship and the Undisputed British Women's Championship. Your NJPW Strong Women's Champion, also your AEW TBS Champion, Mercedes Moné, taking on the Undisputed British Women's Champion, Mina Sarakawa. This match got 14 minutes and 6 seconds, and no surprise to anybody at all, your winner and still NJPW Strong Women's Champion and your new undisputed British Women's Champion, Mercedes Money. Let's be honest. I think Mercedes Money is trying to recreate that mid-90s photo of Ultimo Dragon with all the titles.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Match was good, though.
Match was fine.
Nick, your thoughts?
Yeah, match was fine. Mercedes Moné finally finding a little bit of stride here, after some, little troubles and problems in the ring last year. So it was fine. She wants to do the belt collector gimmick. I mean, she certainly has a resume worthy of it. So, I mean, go ahead and try.
Abso-freaking-lutely. Next up, we had a singles match. We said about putting your mouth guards in. Match got David Finlay defeating Big King Kong Brodie King. 12 minutes and 53 seconds. Oh boy. What the size differential makes up in, it doesn't matter because Finlay hits hard, probably from one of the toughest wrestling families of all time. I mean, what got this one really started off is David Finlay telling Brodie King, how dare you think you're a man when you wear another man's name across your chest? And Brodie King's response being, hey, I might wear another man's name across my chest, but you've made your whole career because you carry another man's name on your back. Speaking of the Finlay name. And so there's a lot on the line here because a lot of crap talking. David Finlay getting a big win back after dropping the Global Heavyweight Championship. I like this match a lot because I love it when two guys just beat the living hell out of each other. Your thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, the David versus Goliath, but two guys just beating the snot out of each other. It's a lot of fun. I really am hoping in 2025, but Brodie King gets a run because the crowd loves him. And how can you not?
Absolutely.
The presentation is amazing. So I'm hoping he gets a run. And Finlay winning, not really shocked here. He took the loss the night before. Gets a win back, gets his momentum going again.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Next up, singles match. Shota Umino defeating Claudio Castagnoli in 14 minutes and 31 seconds. We talked about it earlier, so now I'm just going to say it. The crowd was not all Shota for this match, which once again, very surprising. Interesting. The dichotomy between the night before and this seems to be a trend. And Claudio, of course, got the jump on him early in the match. Of course, this match was originally thought to be going to be Umino versus Moxley, but Moxley said, nah, I'm busy that day, so I'll send over an emissary and you can face him. Umino beats that emissary, basically says, hey, send over Wheeler Yuta next if you want. Send over Pac if you want. At the end of the day, I'll beat all of your boys until you come over and face me. Setting up for, the young boy to take on the teacher at some point in juncture, I'm assuming, whether it be Forbidden Door or somewhere else down the road this year, because I'm assuming it would be this year. Match was good, though. I thought that this was a little out of the element usually for Shota. Very much almost on the bounds of a hardcore match where they kind of were doing a lot of extracurriculars outside the ring. But at the end of the day, Shota gets a big win over Claudio Castagnoli. Your thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, it was kind of a different style for them because Claudio, I've always loved, his moveset and his style in the ring because it does come off different. And it really worked well here. But when you just said, send over Wheeler Yuta and send over Pac would have been a lot of fun. So maybe one day we will get that. But no, this was fun. This was a lot of fun.
Right on. Next up, got a double championship on the line as the Never Openweight Championship and the AEW International Championship were on the line. Your champion, Konosuke Takeshita, taking on the Stone Pitbull Tomohiro Ishii. This match got 13 minutes and 30 seconds, and at the end of the day, and still your Never Openweight Champion and AEW International Champion, Takeshita. Once again, this is kind of like that strong style fight forever. Mm-hmm. 2 nights in a row, Takeshita was in a literal fight, battle, lots of strikes, lots of heavy hitting. 2 nights in a row, by the way.
No
2 nights comes out on top.
Yeah.
Oh, no. 2 nights coming out on top. Those matches can take a lot out of you. And somehow he pulled 2 of them off, once again proving why he's the alpha. Your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, just proved that he was the alpha. Just went out there and no fatigue, no nothing. No nothing. Just looked like he was just ready to go, and he was ready to go. Yeah. Yeah,
and once again, showing why he's the best. Next up was the 3-way tag team match for the vacant IWGP World Tag Team Championships. Yeah, first up, the United Empire, who were the former champions before Henry suffered the injury he suffered. So Great O'Khan was able to pick an opponent or tag partner, sorry. And the night before, he chose Jeff Cobb. So we knew the night before that he was going to have Jeff Cobb as his partner. They took on the World Tag Team winners of 2024, being LIJ, Tetsuya Naito, and the Ticking Time Bomb, Hamaru Takahashi, who put out Hanrai, but at the same point in juncture had a battle the night before. And then, of course, the EVPs of AEW, the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, returning to Japan after quite some time. This match got 13 minutes and 46 seconds, and at the end of the day, and your new IWGP World Tag Team Champions, improving once again why in Japan they are the best team in the world, proving again why they set another record for most wins at Wrestle Kingdom from Gaijin period. It is the Young Bucks who walk out as your IWGP World Tag Team Champions. Great match, great crowning achievement. And it looks like we're going to get the Young Bucks back in New Japan Pro Wrestling a lot more in this upcoming year. Your thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, great match, great competitors, good pacing. Everyone got their stuff in, their flippy spots, if you love the flippy stuff, which we do love the flippy stuff. And I guess Young Bucks are going to be hanging out in Japan over there for a while. That could be fun, So
Absolutely. Next up, and we got to find out that this was going to be for the championship. By the way, all the championships were on the line from guys who won them the night before. So this match was for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. Your champion, the new champion, Yota Tsuji, taking on the scapegoat, Jack Perry. By the way, that when he's in Japan, he's a member of the House of Torture. Mm-hmm. Came out with the scythe, came out in the mask. Jack Perry, though, looked great in this match. We'll talk more about that in a second. At the end of the day, this match got 13 minutes and 12 seconds, and still your IWGP Global Heavyweight Champion, the Gene Blaster, Yota Tsuji. Dude, I got to tell you, I love this match. My second favorite match of the night. This would have been my favorite match of the night if it wasn't for the next match, being probably an early candidate for match of the year, but this match was still phenomenal. Jack Perry, man. We've said this before, and I know some people were judgmental of this. Jack Perry has really hit a stride as of late in this past year, and it looks like it's carrying over into 2025. He came up short against Yota Tsuji, but it was great. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Jack Perry, obviously starting out 2024 and moving through the year was really red hot and doing a lot. Cooled off as the year went on, wasn't necessarily doing his finest work, but in the ring, he could go, and he showed it here. And the full presentation, the House of Torture presentation and everything. Yeah, I can dig that. So hopefully it's setting up a better year, 2025. Well, it's not that Jack Perry had a bad year, but just a better start to the year, and hopefully he can keep that momentum all the way through. This match should have been match of the night, but
we had a match right after that. It was probably the most advertised match in the history of not the history of New Japan, but in the history of this deal with AEW, because we had the return to the ring of the best bout machine, the cleaner Kenny Omega, and he took on the young brash kid representing the Bullet Club War Dogs. That would be Gabe Kidd. Everything going into this match, Nick, everything. The promo spots, the attacking, the day before this happened, when they had the press conference, and probably one of like this is something that Omega does in Japan. Remember him and Ospreay when they had the big press conference in Japan, and Ospreay, and they got real personal with each other. You could feel it. That happened again with Gabe Kidd and Omega, and Gabe Kidd said, "Hey, he's an outsider. Don't cheer him. He's an outsider." Gabe Kidd comes to the ring first, pulls off his Bullet Club, jumper, and has Bullet Club logo on one side, New Japan logo on the other side, to a great bit of cheering. The crowd, although did cheer for Omega during the match, was not chanting for Omega. They were chanting for Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd turned the Japanese crowd, maybe not totally against Kenny Omega, but they were firmly on the side of their New Japan guy. Kenny Omega, who is one of the most beloved gaijin, or actually just period wrestlers in New Japan. Crazy to see him in that spot. And then you get the match. These guys did it all. These guys literally, this young kid, Gabe Kidd, made a name for him. I mean, we already were talking about him, but I think he made a huge name for himself worldwide. Kenny
Yes.
Omega, we were wondering how he was going to be coming back from the diverticulosis. We were wondering how he was, or diverticulitis, sorry, or no, it was losis. We were wondering how he was going to be. He lost 2 feet of his intestines. Didn't think he was ever going to wrestle again. This is the first time back in a match. Is this going to happen? Is it going to work? Oh boy, it worked. This match got 31 minutes and 55 seconds. And usually we're like, oh man, long matches. Oh no, this match could have probably gone on for a full hour. And they would have found a way to entertain everybody. At the end of the day, though, the best bout machine proves why he's the best bout machine. Kenny Omega puts down Gabe Kidd with the one-winged angel. Both men got bloody. Both men bled buckets. Gabe Kidd bled a little more, but Kenny Omega also, Crimson Mask. Nick, they're calling this the early candidate for match of the year. I'm going to be honest with you. They ain't wrong. This is definitely the best match of the week. It's the best match of the year. I know it's a young year. This one's going to be hard to beat. Your thoughts?
I think at this point, with the way wrestling has been the past few years, we just got to do match of the month and then just tally them up at the end of the year and be like, all right, here are our 12. Let's figure it out from here, because it's banger after banger. And Kenny Omega is generally involved in more than one of those a year. So it was amazing to see him back. And Gabe Kidd channeling a little bit of his inner Drew McIntyre with some of the way he was handling his, his promos and the press conference and everything. But he actually got the crowd to buy into it, which, Drew McIntyre's not exactly trying to get the crowd to buy into it, but the Japanese crowd was like, hey, you know what? We are kind of buying into this. We really actually kind of digging this. So, wow. And 30 plus minutes. Did not think they would go 30 plus minutes because ring rust, don't know what you can do. You knew Kenny Omega when he came back. He was not going to come back if he couldn't do it. But still, to go out there and do 30 plus minutes, wow. And for Omega, sitting back and reflecting on it, like, maybe this is the shot in the arm that AEW needs to really just launch into a crazy 2025. The roster,
I agree.
They got a full roster, right? Like, who's that left out? So we'll see what happens.
I fully agree, but this was a great moment for both Kenny Omega and Gabe Kidd. At the end of the match, we always talk about how sometimes there's a little bit too much respect given. Mm-hmm. You could tell there was respect in the eyes of Kenny Omega for Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd looked at him like he should have as he left that ring in the fact that you got me this time, but I promise this ain't the end. I'm coming back for you. I didn't come here to just bleed in the ring and then leave. No. I hope we get to see this ran back at least one other time this year. This match, I'm greedy. I'd love to see this match fight forever style. Just Gabe Kidd, if you didn't know him before because he's a young kid in this business, just made a name for himself.
Yes.
Kenny Omega proves that he is back. It's good. Good eating all the way around. New Japan's got a huge star in their hands in Gabe Kidd. And Kenny Omega has got a huge future ahead of him. It was during this match, though, so I'll just say it, get it out of the way, because it didn't overshine the match. But for once, the controversy didn't outshine the match.
Yes.
During this match, and I listened to this, by the way, and I don't think it was meant, although I can say what he said has fact to it, and I think that's why it hurt. But I think it was kind of coming from a place, honestly, of, hey, we're supposed to be in a war. It's New Japan versus AEW. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Chris Charlton, which I think he's an amazing commentator, sitting there with our good friend Walker Stewart, says, he says the quiet thing out loud. Says basically, you know what? I'm pissed off that Kenny Omega's back here. He's trying to fight Gabe Kidd. We should be rooting for Gabe Kidd. He is a New Japan guy. He didn't run off. He didn't take somebody's money. All these other guys ran off and took some Money Mark's money. That's right. He called him a money mark. Mm-hmm. And now look what they're doing. All they're doing is nothing. All they made them into is laughing stocks and jokes. None of them are doing anything. It's not exactly 100% true, right? But there is kernels.
Yeah, I mean, you can really look at that and go, kind of with some of these guys. And if you look at the AEW competitors, most of them were former New Japan guys. There wasn't a lot of guys that had never done it over there or never worked over there. And yes, there were some, but when you're lining this up, these shows, you're thinking dream matches. You're thinking stuff you've never seen before, people that would never, ever have the opportunity to even interact with. And this is their time. And we haven't really seen that. And it kind of makes you wonder how much AEW as a company really wants to do these things. We know the wrestlers do. And it's certainly, it can pay dividends. It can be amazing. But how much as a company does AEW necessarily want to do this? Kind of shows a little bit. Makes you wonder.
Well, the controversy comes in is now Chris Charlton has found himself suspended, definitely from commentating. He was not on the New Year's Dash show. We've been told that they don't know he's going to return, and it was because of his remarks. And of course, a lot of people on the internet instantly went Tony Khan and his thin skin.
Yeah,
I don't know if Tony's to blame here. In Japan, it's a very honor-based system. Later in the night, after the main event, Chris Charlton said, hey, earlier I was trying to build something and, I got excited for my team. He kind of explained it. I think he knew he was in trouble. He said it on the mic. Because like I said, he said the quiet thing out loud. And I don't know if it's pressure from Tony Khan. I don't know if it's just New Japan's office doing the right thing, according to, the beliefs of the Japanese people. I don't know, but I think it's a travesty that he was taken off either way. Whether that's a New Japan decision, a Tony Khan decision, Tony Khan it doesn't matter. He went out there, he did his job. He should put over New Japan. He's a New Japan commentator. If they wanted, Rocky Romero was on the call being pro AEW. That is fine. Why didn't you have your They should have had at least Excalibur come to Japan and call the show. And then you could have had a pro, you could have had Walker Stewart in the middle, just being the unbiased commentator, and you could add an AEW guy and Chris Charlton going back and forth in the color position, arguing both sides. I think that would have been a better idea. But since you didn't send somebody, he was doing what he was doing. Now, mind you, was it a business decision? Maybe. Was it his own personal beliefs? Maybe. Who knows? Was it a melding of the two? That's what I think most likely it was. But don't act surprised. Gabe Kidd in the build at Omega talked about, I'm not going to go to AEW and just to get paid. They paid Okada $2 million. And what has he done? He gets for a couple months and then sits in catering. That's what Gabe Kidd said in his build to Omega. So it's not like they weren't throwing jabs back and forth. What makes it just right for the wrestler and not the commentator? The commentators are who's speaking to the fans. And if you're doing it as a New Japan, commentary team, why wouldn't they be pro New Japan? So I don't think it's as controversial. The only thing I do find controversial is suspending him.
I think that's the biggest controversy out of all this. And the rest of it was just kind of like, you're not wrong. You are not wrong.
The internet seemed to agree with it. Like,
you're not wrong. Thank you for saying
booking the show for one guy. He said the quiet thing. Like I said, he said the quiet thing out loud. He said what we all say quietly out loud.
Yep.
Well, let's go to the main event, though. By the way, this was following that match between Omega and Gabe Kidd could not have been easy. IWGP World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Your champion, Zack Sabre Jr., taking on newly crowned heel Ricochet. This match got 20 minutes and 57 seconds at the end of the day, and your winner and still IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Zack Sabre Jr. Great match. I love the dichotomy between Sabre Jr. and Ricochet. They showed off a lot of stuff. I think that people are not as favorable to this match because they are probably tired from the match before, but it's one of those situations where this match still delivered. I thought it was great. I even went back and rewatched it just to make sure because I didn't want to give the bias after the match before it. And I still thinks it stands up. The submission out of nowhere was the only thing that kind of threw me off at the end for Ricochet with Zack Sabre. I was obviously Sabre Jr. was going to win, but I just thought it kind of came out of nowhere, the submission. But outside of that, it was a great match. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's just one of those matches where it's like maybe they should have thought about rearranging the card a little bit. And but it was a fun match. I don't necessarily love everything Ricochet's doing right now, character-wise, but the in-ring stuff is still really good. Zack Sabre Jr., I mean, he might have been the greatest wrestler of the year last year, carrying that into this year. So, yeah, hopefully we'll see this roll back in a situation where they can get their moment to really shine.
All right, man. We're going to exit out of the New Japan. We're going to be running into that TK overtime. Let's be honest. We knew we were because it's such a big show because we have one more big show to talk about this past week. And that, of course, was WWE's Netflix debut. Of course, I was very careful about which picture I put up for this segment. Of course, as you can see there, Travis Scott and the one and only, the Heat Master himself, Jey Uso, main event Jey Uso, coming to the ring, coming to your town. And Raw on Netflix, the era kicked off. And oh boy, did it kick off in a big bad way. I got to take a moment to say we're not going to go through the whole show, obviously, but I definitely want to touch on things and kind of get your feedback. The good, the bad, and the ugly, because there was obviously not all good. But listen, that opening with the ring covered and then playing that amazing video of pretty much the history of WWE and everything going on. Oh, man, the goosebumps were standing on end. And, of course, opening the show with The Rock, which we're going to dive into. But your thoughts on just the open alone, and we'll talk about The Rock next.
We keep calling it the cinematic era of WWE, and it's true because that's exactly what they're doing here. And it's different. It was a different presentation for them, though. I mean, not the video package itself. They do great video packages all the time, but the way with the screens dropping down in the ring, it was a different opening, different presentation, and it really worked. It really worked.
I think they were in the best building possible, too.
Yeah.
Because the NUA arena there, the way it's set up and how the seating is, 17,000 plus, completely in the round, it was jam-packed, and they were hot. That LA crowd, we've been talking about how the American crowds for WWE, even though they're sold selling out and having a great houses, they haven't been as loud as the overseas house. Talking, we're looking at you, Puerto Rico and France leading the way. Not saying that Berlin wasn't great and all these other places, but let's think about it. The two loudest so far have been Puerto Rico. I think this LA crowd gave a run for the money. It was a loud crowd. And not to mention celebrities galore. Obviously, Macaulay Culkin got a good big pop. But let's go on. Triple H opens the show, brings out The Rock. Rock gets the big pop. The confusing thing to everything is Rock is now back to being the face Rock. Even thanking Cody Rhodes for putting the company on his back. Thanking his cousin, Roman Reigns, for carrying the company. Talking to the WWE Universe. Letting them know everything's okay. Now, peek behind. We've heard in interviews that The Rock has said that he doesn't have any big deal plans for WrestleMania. He's decided to pull back because he thinks it should be focused on John Cena in his last year. Maybe this was their way of putting things on the back burner. The Rock would go on to say on NXT, though, stop, basically, we're going to make it more PC than The Rock did because he swore. But he said, basically, stop talking all that smack because you don't know what's going on. And when it happens, you'll find out. So slow your roll, shut your mouth, and know your role, shut your mouth, and that's it. I was still confused about all this. What is your thoughts on The Rock's promo from Raw?
It was a little confusing, I guess, with the energy of the crowd and this moment, this completely changing moment for WWE. In a way, it does make sense that no character, no matter how much heat you have or how much of a babyface you are, was really going to have a problem getting cheered in the ring. I say that, but then later on in the night, something happened. But anyway,
we'll talk about it. We'll talk
about that later. But, so maybe that's really what it was, and that's fine. He can go out there and he can be, I'm on the board, Rock. This is a huge moment for everyone. We're going to celebrate this. And, all it takes, listen, it's wrestling. All it takes is one chair shot and you got your heat back,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So on top of that, first match out the gate, first match on the new era, Raw on Netflix. Tribal rules. Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, of course. Roman Reigns, our tribal chief, get them ones up. He reclaims the Ulafala and is the tribal chief. Good stuff. Rock puts the Ulafala on him. Return, great opening contest. I don't think we have to go too much in depth about that. We had some great celebrity sightings. Then we had probably the biggest misstep in the history of, I guess it's not TV, it's Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
The first one of this era, as WWE decided to parade out Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Plugging his American beer. And the LA crowd was not enthralled with that at all and booed Hulk Hogan out of the building. Now, I've heard a lot. We've heard a lot. We've heard that, there's political motivations. Obviously, we know that California is a blue state. We're not going to pretend it's not. Obviously, Hulk Hogan, big time Donald Trump supporter. But at the end of the day, I saw a lot more people saying what I've said for a long time. We just have not forgotten. It wasn't that long ago that it came out how the racist rant that Hulk Hogan went on. And he has slowly but surely gotten more heat over the years for it. Am I saying that there is no cue because it was, California and he's a MAGA supporter? I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say WWE should have known their audience.
Yeah.
But I think if you want to talk about the falling out of love with Hogan, that's been going on since the whole Gawker thing, since the whole him being racist at the end of that sex tape.
And even a little bit before that, his time in TNA and everything, none of that stuff is beloved, and is he a MAGA supporter? Is he a Trump supporter? Yes. Is that a factor? Yes. But that's Undertaker is as well. They weren't booing him.
He didn't get booed.
He didn't get booed. So while it's, if you're building a pie chart, it's on the pie chart, but there are a lot of other bigger pieces. And Hulk Hogan's a known liar. There's a Jim Cornette did a breakdown on YouTube like 2 or 3 years ago about all of his lies. It's like a 45-minute video. Millions of people have watched it. People go back and watch it because it's all, well, I mean, it's Jim Cornette, a grain of salt, but it's a lot of this stuff is coming out to be proven that he's a liar. And we were talking to each other in the chat about this, and we were thinking about it, and Pab1J did a little homework. Last time Hogan appeared at a WWE ring, it was 2007, which means there were kids in that audience who were 17 years old who have never seen Hulk Hogan even compete.
Talk about wrestling.
Yeah, that have never even seen him compete in a WWE ring. There's a whole generation of fans that's not Hulk Hogan's not their hero. So you, Rich, perfect example. You have kids, you have younger kids and stuff. So you're bringing your kids to a show. Your hero isn't Hulk Hogan. Your hero is someone from the 90s, a Bret Hart, a Shawn Michaels, an Undertaker, a Stone Cold, a Rock.
Well,
your parents would have been the Hulk Hogan would have been their hero. But so for the kids that are younger, that's their grandparents' hero. Time has passed. And he's a piece of trash, apparently.
Well, here's the thing. My age group, since I'll be 42 soon, when I was a kid, I was a Hulkamaniac. That was who was on top of the business. Now, granted, as I got older, I was also a Randy Savage fan, but as I got older, I appreciated Randy Savage more, Shawn Michaels more, Ric Flair more, or some of the guys, because as I got into my wrestling fandom, I got into the guys who could not just cut a promo, but also could go in the ring, Yeah. And that's not a shot at Hogan. And I'm not going to give the old, I've seen Hogan wrestle in New Japan because I have, it's not that he's a terrible wrestler.
No, he could go
but that's not even the point. The point of the matter is, we found out at some point in juncture, and then the resurgence of Hogan in the NWO. I was there for that, but there was a time in the 2000s, early 2000s, that we found out that Hogan wasn't a good guy. You know what I mean? In real life. And it was before all this other stuff. And he continued to prove that time and time again, whether it was the incident with his son, which I'm not going to go into details about, whether it was the creepy stuff with his daughter, whether it was their stupid television series, his horrible divorce, the racist stuff. Like the hits keep on coming, man. The hits keep on coming. Yeah, Ric Flair made a lot of mistakes in life, but Ric Flair never did the kind of things that Hulk Hogan did that were just dirty and nasty. You know what I mean? That's why it's easier to forgive Ric Flair. The biggest problem with Ric Flair is Ric Flair believes that he's that character all the time. You don't know where Ric Flair, starts and ends. You know what I mean? And once again, that's fine. Overall, better than Hogan. You know what I mean? And I think that this was just a misread by WWE. If you would have done this in Florida, his home state, they would have popped for him. If you do this in, Alabama, they would have popped for him. If they wanted the bigger pop, they should have gone with the Steve Austin, who lives in LA. I mean, he lives in Texas too, but he has a house in LA. Yeah.
We were talking about, we were running through the list of people that would have just gotten a massive pop. And I was trying to think of people who had very impactful moments on Monday Night Raw. Because again, Hogan didn't have a ton of impactful moments on Monday Night Raw. So, you could have, and it's tough because your first gut says, well, Shawn Michaels is employed. They're rolling him out there. They kind of do that all too often. I don't know how well that would have done. You could have called a Bret Hart and flown him down there. You could have paid Steve. You could have gotten a Mick Foley. You could have gotten a Batista in LA. that would have done really well. There was a lot of people you could have gone with for this moment, and I get it. He was going out there because now he signed a deal with WWE as a sponsor and everything. Okay, but like you said, he's not a decent person anymore. He hasn't been for a long time. The crowd has aged out and moved on. It was a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. I don't want to go too much deeper than that. I think there's a lot of reasons. It wasn't just one reason. It was a molehill. Because like you said, Undertaker comes out as the American badass at the end of Rhea Ripley's match, gets a huge pop. Once again, supporter, we're talking about Donald Trump supporters. He is one, very openly so. So if that was just the case that Hogan got, whatever, then he would. But the Undertaker's more respected, let's be honest.
Yep.
And probably been a way better locker leader than Hogan ever was. And he even tells some crappy stories about Hulk Hogan with the phantom chair, the phantom tombstone on the chair neck. Oh man, you got me, brother. Yeah, no, man. Like everybody tells Hogan stories. It's terrible. But it is what it is. We live in the day and age now where kayfabe is pretty much dead. We're on here talking about wrestling and breaking down wrestling. There's other shows, that do the same. We know what's going on behind the scenes. We know that he's not a good person. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it was just a misstep. I think WWE tries to wheel him out every once in a while because they still remember the golden era. Because remember, the golden age of wrestling, he was the guy. Mm-hmm. But once again, the fans have aged out. It's like in my generation, which sounds weird, it's like I used to hear about Bruno Sammartino. And now as I'm older, I know how great Bruno was. But when I was a kid, Bruno was pretty much done.
Yeah.
Like he had a couple matches, but for the most part, you remembered him from commentating and then, later on, some just disparaging remarks, et cetera, et cetera. But you're like, okay, who cares? You know what I mean? If that makes sense. And once again, I understand the importance of Bruno Sammartino now. And he's not Hulk Hogan, but that's what happens. The generation of young adults now grew up in the John Cena era.
Yeah.
That's why this is a big deal for this last year of Cena, which we kicked it off in LA, which was perfect. By the way, every city's going to have a Cena shirt.
Yep.
I'm on board with this, by the way.
I saw the Funko Pop for Cena. That's really cool.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. John Cena is awesome.
Yeah, just to put a bow on top of this, it's 2025. WCW has been gone 25 years now. Time moves on. Time passes.
Agreed. Speaking of John Cena, though, let's talk about it real quick. Came out, talked to the crowd, kind of shocked the crowd by saying, "Hey, man, I hear guys talk about 17 times. I don't know, man. I haven't won a match in like 3,000 days. Like I can't be. But wait a minute, if I could enter a match like the Elimination Chamber and earn a spot, get that lotto ticket, or better yet, the Royal Rumble. So he officially has entered the Royal Rumble, which." To no surprise for anybody. I did like his statement of, hey, there's 29 other guys in the ring that want it, but there's only one guy that's me, that this is guaranteed to be his last Royal Rumble. So I'm going to fight a little harder for it. I love the kickoff to your Cena. Thoughts, Nick?
Yeah. I mean, everyone has said, reporting at a WWE, that this is going to be a big year for John Cena. It's not just going to be a heavy year where you're going to roll him out there. He's going to wait or whatever. Like, this is going to be a big year for Cena, and it should be. He deserves it, and he is committing to be there full time. So again, he deserves it. If you're there full time, you deserve every moment of it. When you're showing up every once in a while, of course, whatever. But it's going to be interesting to see, because the Royal Rumble is an opportunity to set up his year. See who he's going to interact with, because you can have those moments in the Rumble. Maybe that's where he does get to mix it up with Punk. It's the only two guys in the ring, and it's like, well, we're the only ones here. Let's go. And there's your opportunity for that. Maybe it's a Drew McIntyre. Maybe I always champion for this, because I always think it's a lot of fun. Maybe Cody's out there doing commentary, and he's just kind of chewing it up, and Cena's just standing there, and this is going to set the tone for his year. Right, so many options. This is going to set the tone for the year, and Royal Rumble will be here sooner than you can think, man. It's going to be here soon. Yes.
So we got two more things to talk about from the show. Of course, I had the picture up. Travis Scott. The song Fiend comes on. Of course, he's doing the new theme song for Raw as well. He's got a big deal with WWE. Fiend is going to be the theme for WrestleMania 41. He comes out and he steals Snoop Dogg's gimmick. As Michael Cole said, I think that he's burning the sage. And Pat McAfee quickly went, I don't think that's sage, Cole. Of course, Jey Uso comes out, and he comes to the ring with Jey Uso. That crowd was wild. I love the drone shot, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It made Raw feel like a party with the Jey
Yep.
Uso entrance. Of course, great match, great entrance. Loved seeing everything go on. However, my best parts about this is the post. In the post, we had Jey Uso, as Joe Tessitore had to bring up and say, "Hey, so a little extracurriculars going on." And were you, what were you thinking? He was like, "Oh man, he didn't even offer to be an inhale." He said, no, I was working. He was like, he's out there. The kids are around. I'm doing the whole yeet thing. He was like, and then Joe Tessitore goes, "Hey, you're just trying to flag it away from the kids." He was like, "Oh no, I was like this." And then Triple H, of course, in his portion of the press conference, saying that he would like to thank Jey Uso for just saying no during the entrance. I wasn't offended by this, but hey, this to me, in a weird way, set the tone for the Netflix era. Anything can happen. If this was on broadcast television, that wouldn't necessarily go down. I thought that this was a way to show that, yeah, this is where we're going. Your thoughts on the whole situation, Nick?
No, this, like you said, this is a way to do things non-PG without having to turn to F-bombs and chair shots to the head or completely over the top, throwing Mick Foley off the top of the Hell in the Cell type stuff. This is your other way of doing it. For the past few years, people's comments, people's mindsets, and everything on the marijuana has really softened. It's legal in many states now, including California. So this was something that was bound to happen at some point anyway. And WWE had fun with it. Michael Cole and Pat McAfee had fun with it. Triple H had fun with it. So again, you're not going to do this every week, but again, we're talking about WWE here. Stone Cold Steve Austin used to drink beer after every match. So like in 2025, in a world that has evolved where marijuana is a lot more universally accepted, this was bound to happen. Dipping your toes in it, had a lot of fun with it. It's not like you're going to see people backstage sitting there toking it up. You're not going to do that because it just doesn't really make sense anyway. But sure, this was fine. This was fun.
There's another thing I want to throw in here, and on a more negative, controversial side, of course, there's been some detractors talking about the show, saying, "Hey, you gave time to Hogan and Rock and all these guys, and you pulled some matches from the show." I love how people always go, "You pulled some matches from the show." Now, granted, they did advertise that the finals of the Women's Intercontinental Championship was going to originally be on the show. Granted, they did advertise New Day versus Rey Mysterio and a mystery partner, which we all assumed would be Pentagon. But here's what I'm going to say. Yes, they were advertised. Yes, things changed. The reason why was this was meant to be a big coming out party for WWE. This wasn't necessarily meant for the diehards, although they gave us great stuff, i.e. Roman Solo, i.e. Punk Rollins, for the fans who were watching the wrestling. But they're trying to draw an audience, knowing that they were going to have the world watching. Why wouldn't you bring out The Rock? I mean, I wouldn't have brought out Hogan, but why wouldn't you bring out The Rock? Why wouldn't you bring out Undertaker? Why wouldn't they gave us Liv versus Rhea in a very, very great match, right? So, like, it's not like they didn't give us wrestling. They just did spectacle because that's what this was meant. This is the first week. They're going to settle in more. Here's my bonus to this. I think that the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship match being pushed back was a godsend. It would have been overshadowed by every other match. No disrespect to the women involved. Just let's think about what was on that card. The 3 matches I just listed, those 3 matches, just those alone would have overshadowed that match and it would have done it a disservice. Yep. Also, how many of us, ourselves included, we're like, "Oh, great, you're just going to put Penta in the LWO because, hey, that's booking." But now that's not going to happen because now, after Raw on Netflix, Chad Gable laid a challenge out to Adam Pearce. They said he will fight the best luchador in the world. We know who that's going to be. So now, instead of being saddled in this group, we get Penta versus Chad Gable. So not giving me the New Day versus Penta and Rey works out to our favor and Pentagon's favor, because also could have been overshadowed.
And in story and in character for the New Day.
Right. And it could have been overshadowed. And I think the Women's Intercontinental Championship, which should be put on a pedestal, would have been overshadowed, especially because you had Rhea versus Liv Morgan for the WWE Women's Championship. I don't know. Is your thoughts on this? Am I wrong? Am I the one that's going crazy? Chat, you can mention this as well.
Think about it this way. If you just treated this like this was a premium live event, they would have had one more match because they've been typically averaging about 5 matches on a, so they did 4. And they did a little bit more fanfare theatrics type stuff. You had a big segment with The Rock. Roman Reigns and Solo, they had a nice long match to really end that. I don't want to say end that feud, but to close that chapter of this ongoing bloodline story. That was needed. That was 100% needed. You know, if you go back and you look at Saturday night's main event, Chelsea Green got a huge moment with her victory. It would be a disservice to not give the Intercontinental title champion that same opportunity to have their huge moment. It would have been lost on the show. And this was not just, it's a kickoff of a new era. It's a kickoff of 2025. It's a closure to some things. It's a new beginning for others. We got Seth and Punk. That's feud just getting started. John Cena setting up his year. This show needed to be exactly what it was. There was only, to me, one real misstep, and we already went on about that. And it didn't take up that much time either. But
I'm a fan of the end justifies the means. And if you could switch something and give me something better or put somebody in a better light, I'm happy not to see Penta and LWO.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to have the spotlight shine bright on the Women's Intercontinental Championship. That's just, maybe I'm taking the positives from this. I'm not looking at the negatives.
Yeah, I'm happy to see New Day get some more fuel for their character work right now, because you just throw this in there. It's perfect. And
what was the release? 4.6 million people worldwide watched Raw.
Yeah, and you know, it gives all night. It gives you the opportunity to and the desire and the want to come back next week. Look what we already got lined up for next week.
Think about 2.9 million in the States, 4.6 worldwide.
Yep.
Watch Raw live. That's the live numbers. That's not the replays. That's not what you can still watch on Netflix right now. So hopefully the point is to retain. We give you a spectacle. We bring you in with the celebrities and all this stuff, The Rock, et cetera, et cetera. And then next week you tune in to watch the wrestling, hopefully.
Yeah. And the build for Royal Rumble.
Absolutely. That leaves us with one more thing to talk about here on this show to cap that up before we go into the close. And that, of course, Nick, is the main event of the evening. Punk Rollins. We've been waiting. Story's been building. And I'll leave it to you first on this one. Did it deliver?
Yes, it did deliver, but it left me wanting more, which is perfect. There was a spot with the go to sleep with Rollins falling on top of Punk, and Punk picks him up and does it. And I'm like, I've seen this before, because Punk did that to Moxley. Are we going to see him do it to Reigns at some point too? Oh my God. But this match was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Two guys that, have known each other a long time. They know what they do in the ring, and they haven't competed against each other in forever, but they know each other exactly. They knew exactly what to do, and this delivered. And I cannot wait. Cannot wait for the next round of this growing, bubbling feud.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job here. I think that the match was tremendous. Might have, on a normal week would have been match of the week, but we had Gabe Kidd versus Kenny Omega, which I think edged it out as far as in-ring. Storyline wise, though, second to none. I love after the match, sticking around for anybody who didn't watch the post show. Oh my God, you missed out some gems. Mm-hmm. CM Punk getting interviewed in the walkway as he returned to the locker room, talking, cutting him. One of the best promos we've heard from CM Punk since his return. Talking about how he's 46. Talking about he understands Father Time. Talking about how, but he's going to go on because he wants to main event WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That's what he wants. And it was fiery. And then going to the press conference and CM Punk taking some questions and answering some very great questions, saying that he knows that this isn't over with Seth Rollins. He understands. He's like, I can get past it, but he's not going to get past that. So he's coming back. Don't you worry. Mm-hmm. I know it. He knows it. We all know it. And then on top of that, him saying going in, and I thought the Denise Salcedo question that led to him saying that and I thought this was something that made me get a thought, was when Punk says, the thing you're going to take away from what I'm about to say is that I'm old and beaten up. However, what I mean by that is I'm 46, and I feel like now at 46, this many years in my career, I finally understand this business more than I ever have. So the irony of this is that at the moment that I have my creative juices going at the next level, at the moment that I understand exactly what needs to happen in a match and outside the ring and everything else, at a point where I believe that it's the greatest that I've ever operated at, my body is also failing me. And that's the challenge. And you have to go, damn, that is a real introspective look. And he has to do what he has to do to hold that body together, because he is telling the best stories right now.
Yep.
I don't see any lies in what he said there. I think that when thinking on it, I think he is operating on another, and mind you, he's always operated at a high level, but I think he's operating on the next level. We saw that feud with Drew McIntyre where he was injured most of it, and still they were drawing the crowd in.
Yep.
And then it paid off in that series of matches. Him and Seth Rollins drew everybody in with this story, had a great match, and it's going to continue. That's not it. You know what I mean? I love how he said, they asked him about The Rock and Cena. He's like, those are big paychecks. I like big paychecks. But that's not what's making my creative juices flow. But I will do those matches for the big paycheck. At least he's honest, right?
He's honest.
So, in a nutshell, I thought that it was a very successful first Raw on Netflix. Makes me very hopeful for what we've got going on in the future. Of course, we'll be continuing watching like everybody else. However, before we go into the close of the show, it is time to make an announcement. And we kind of mentioned it last week in passing. And that is that our yearly award show is going down very soon. And of course, for those of you who don't know, our award show is the Brodie Awards. So the 2024 Brodie Awards, giving out the awards to the best in wrestling in the year 2024. Because obviously it's the year past, because it literally goes from January 1st of 2024 to December 31st of 2024. We'll be going down on Wrestling Night Live on Thursday, January the 30th. So Thursday, January the 30th, right here on this program, we will be giving out the Brodie Awards. The reason the awards are named after the late, great Brodie Lee is Brodie Lee exemplified all that would make a great wrestler in and out of the ring. He was talent in the ring. He was class outside of the ring. Respected by everybody. You never hear a bad word about him. The second reason, being a more selfish reason, is that I had the honor and privilege of working with Brodie Lee and calling him a friend when I worked in the wrestling business. It is my little way of remembering a friend who is respected by everybody in the business. And when we talk about what we do here on Nerd Initiative, being the home of pop culture positivity, that also means pro wrestling positivity. That doesn't mean we can't be critics, but it also means you have to do it in a way. That is why there is no such thing on our list as the worst wrestler of the year or the worst gimmick or any of that. No, it's the best. It's the moment of the year. It's the WTF moment of the year, because those are two different things, by the way, folks. Promo of the year. We have the event of the year. Wrestler of the year, both man and female wrestler of the year. And by the way, we don't judge here. So therefore, whatever the performer identifies as is what they will be identified as, because that is what we believe in. So that can save some people with their arguments. On top of that, we also have things like promotion of the year, tag team of the year, tag match of the year, match of the year, breakout superstar of the year. What? There's so many great categories that you will be able to. And guess what? The best part is, I even got to the best part, Nick. The people at home, you get to vote. So this weekend, keep your eyes this weekend on the Nerd Initiative socials and at nerdinitiative.com, because the ballot will go live and it will run. I do believe we said it will run through January the 23rd. So basically 2 weeks. It should be up either by tomorrow, the 10th or the 11th, on both the website and across all social medias. We'll be sharing it, and it will end after Wrestling Night Live goes off air. So we'll say midnight, because we go a little late sometimes. So it'll be a little later on the 23rd of January. That gives us time to calculate the votes. Here's the thing. We as the NI Wrestling team put together our list of who we have on there. But not only do you get to vote, fans, you get to do write-ins. So once the vote goes up, vote then and vote often. And you will decide on who wins the Brodies this year for the best in professional wrestling of the year 2024. Once again, the criteria literally is the match, the promo, whatever, had to happen between January 1st of 2024 and December 31st of 2024. The reason we pushed it back a little bit this year, coming to you right before the Royal Rumble, was so we could get the full year in, because I wanted it to be the full year of 2024. Yeah. So when we say a best of 2024, it literally included up until the last day, the first day to the last day. Like I said, I think we got some pretty good nominees on the list, Nick. What are your thoughts?
Listen, I think our Nerd Initiative audience is used to hearing this. A lot of people say it over the years. Go vote. Go vote. Go vote. Go vote. 2024 was an absolutely amazing year for wrestling. There was so much growth all over the place in the industry. It was a lot of change within the industry that the audience really just grabbed a hold of and loved. This is going to be a hard one to make whittle through these choices and make your decision. There's moments again that we've probably forgotten. That's why we're not releasing the poll yet, because we got to double check our work here, because it was just such an over the top year for wrestling. So much fun, and I implore you, please participate. Please participate. Go vote.
Absolutely. So that will be going up this weekend. So keep your eyes on the Nerd Initiative social medias, and also nerdinitiative.com, the home of pop culture positivity. But Nick, it's time for us to actually say goodbye. So before we go, tell the fine folks how to find you to talk about the Pokemans and the pro grappling.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram right there. Pokemon has had a huge, much like wrestling, has had a huge 2024 and a huge 2025. I was trying to buy the new set. It got launched on the Pokemon website. It's gone, so I don't know. I'm going to have to figure that one out. But if you want to talk some Pokemon, you want to talk some pro wrestling, follow me on Instagram, or here every Thursday night, 8 p.m. with Rich, sometimes with Ken, Wrestling Night Live on YouTube, Facebook. That's as far as I can go.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll hit them all in a second.
Thanks.
I'll hit them all in a second. If you want to talk to me about some pro wrestling, go ahead and go to 3fmpodcast.com. All the listings on there are actually, you'll be talking to me because I run all the ones for 3FM Podcast. If you want to hear an adult humor podcast, we did have to postpone this week. So we're doing a double episode this upcoming week. So it'll be our Nerdy Awards, with also being our 2025 preview show coming up next week. The weather in the Northeast has been something fierce as far as the cold weather, some snow and stuff. So yeah, it kind of made it a little hard for us. But if you want to check out some older episodes and stuff, it is an adult humor movie review podcast. Lots of fun. Want to check that out, go check that out. Of course, kicking off the week here at Nerd Initiative is always Turn a Page, the comic book showcase every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, hosted by the editor-in-chief, Ken M., who's not here. Make sure you're turning into that, because not only does that kick off the week of our good friends over at Play for Keeps kick off the week for the YouTube section. So I just want to, don't want to make sure I forget about Mickey and Tom over there, because they're doing the thing. But as far as the kickoff for the comic book week, let's turn a page, because that leads right into New Comic Book Day, and the best team doing it today, the NA Ballpen, doing over 30 reviews every week, sometimes as many as 50. I think the record is a little over 50 every single week. Go to nerdinitiative.com that Wednesday, that QR code right there. Check out some of the best reviews in all of comics, making those waves. I'm even doing reviews over there. And this week, I kind of getting an announcement internally that I'm going to let out. I am going to be heading up doing the prime seat for the reviews for Distillery Comics. So it's a very prestigious thing. So I'm going to be doing that on top of my other reviews. So keep your eyes focused on them, because some great books coming out, especially in the world of indie comics. Speaking of which, I just said it. Home of Pop Culture Positivity, nerdinitiative.com. Make sure you remember that, because this weekend, when the Brodies launch, it will be right there on the front page. Not to mention on all the social medias, and all those social medias are also listed there. The home of pop culture positivity, nerdinitiative.com. Because I am contractually obligated to tell you about this, it is Nerd Initiative merchandise time. Go visit that QR code and get you some swag. Look at that little Nerd Initiative action on myself this week. They got ball caps. They got shirts. There's Wrestling Night Live apparel. There's Turn a Page apparel. There's Red Night Wrestling apparel and so much more. Go support it. If you don't remember to go there, it's a one-stop shop. Go to nerdinitiative.com. There's the merchandise listed right there as well. And then, of course, if you are watching us on Facebook, Kick, X, or Twitch, make sure you're following us there because those are social medias that will have the Brodie's voting posted. But also make sure you go to this QR code. And if you're already at the YouTube channel, you've already got part of the damage done. Make sure you go there, smash the subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications to know whenever we go live or a brand new video comes at you. Because trust me, me and Nick are also planning another mystery video. It's going to talk about the state of pro wrestling that won't be Nerd or NI Wrestling Live. So want to check that out? Make sure you're signed up and hit that thumbs up so the GEO Michael knows that you want more pro wrestling talk and more videos on Nerd Initiative's YouTube channel, the home of pop culture positivity on YouTube. Well, Nick, that brings us to the end of the show. So for myself, for Nick, and for Ken M, who is on assignment, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll be back next week, Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk more pro wrestling with you. Until then, I got one thing left to say, and that is later, wrestling fans.